I can't find any good sunlight right here, so I'm just gonna talk to you real quick. Hey y'all, and welcome to our weekend vlog. We are up and at it bright and early this morning. Both of the boys have two games each today, two basketball games each today, and the first one started at 8, so I had to be here about 7:30, and it took about 30 minutes to get here, so we had to get up and going bright and early this morning. It's gonna be basketball all day long. Wouldn't have it any other way. They're already in the gym. I'm gonna head that way too. They're already in the gym. I came back out to get Easton some medicine. His ankle was hurting him a little bit. He hurt it playing basketball last week, and it's still giving him a little problems from time to time, so I came out here to get him some Tylenol. Oh, I better lock the doors. Be careful, buddy, don't fall. Shoot! Shoot! Good try. It's gonna be a feed yourself kind of night tonight, and grab some cereal because that's what Justin and I wanted. He was out of milk too. It sure is nice to be home after you've been away from home all day. Wyatt, you may hear him in the background. He is currently upset because he wants to pick two like full-size basketballs up at the same time, and he can't do it. I'm like, just hold one at a time, one at a time. It's making him mad that he can't pick them both up at the same time. All the big kids are outside with Justin doing chicken chores, getting them fed, and seeing if we've got any eggs. We'll have to just see when they come in if they had a collection of eggs today. I bet they did. You got a handful of eggs.
Yeah. Got a couple.
Were they buried in the shavings or up in the nest box? Good. 5 beautiful eggs today. Y'all, I wanted to take a second and ask you all how you're doing. I genuinely, with all my heart, want to know how you're doing, how things are going for you. Y'all are always so wonderful about checking on us, especially since new baby, and how are we doing, how are we adjusting, how's things going. And I want to know how y'all are. Please don't ever hesitate. If you have a prayer request or something that you want to mention to us, don't ever hesitate to do that. Please let us know in the comments. When I see those kind of comments, I always say a prayer for you. We love y'all and we care about you. And I'm so thankful that y'all take the time to check on us. And today I wanted to make sure you know that we're here for you and to check on y'all. So how are you doing? I hope y'all are doing wonderful. And I hope that y'all Well, I know y'all see this after the weekend, but I hope y'all had a blessed weekend. Good morning, y'all. I'm sitting at the drive-thru at Jack's. Actually, hang on. I got to order.
Welcome, Jack.
Yes, I need to get the stack of pancakes with bacon, another stack of pancakes with sausage. All right, it is Sunday morning now. We're having Jack's for breakfast. Wow, there's nobody here. I can go ahead and pull straight up to the window. I'll talk to y'all eventually. Okay, let's try that again. It's Sunday morning and just went through Jack's. We're having Jack's for breakfast today. And then we'll head to church. Justin's preaching at our church today. He's visited a different church the last couple weeks, but he's going to be preaching at our home church today. And then I think we're going over to his mama's house. That's the plan, at least. She is cooking lunch. It's Justin's brother's birthday, so my brother-in-law's birthday is coming up in just a few days, and their mama always likes to cook a lunch for them around their birthday, so I think that's the plan for lunch today. And whatever we end up getting into today, we'll bring you along. I'm thinking about making a pot of vegetable beef soup for dinner tonight, so maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll do that together too. I'm gonna get home and get these people their food. I'm gonna peek at him. Gotta peek this way. Look right here. There he is.
Relate. What did Jesus tell Peter? He said, Satan is going to sift you. He said, God's going to let him sift you. And Jesus said, I'm praying for you. You think Jesus could have said, Satan came to God and he wanted to sift you. Satan came to God and and I told him, no, I'm not going to let Satan do that to you, Peter. You and me are pretty close. You've gone with me a while. If anybody deserved not to be put on trial by Satan, it would be Peter. But Jesus, I can imagine Jesus reaching over and putting his hand on his shoulder and said, I'm going to pray for you. He said, it's still coming, Peter. Right. You're still going to go through it. I want to know if you're going to be bold enough to go through it. I want to see how much you love me and see when Satan comes to go through it, if you are going to make it. And Peter messed up. Yeah. Peter was bold. He cut the guard's ear off. He yanked that sword out, said, you ain't taking him, and sliced that guard's ear off when they come to take Jesus. Peter was bold. Yes. But when Jesus was crucified, and they said, aren't you with him? He said, no. Yes. They come again and said, aren't you? You were with Jesus. Peter said, no. No, I wasn't. He said, yeah, you were one of his. And Peter said, no. He even cursed a little girl. He said, no, I was not. And then he heard that rooster cry. Right. See, Peter even messed up. But on the day of Pentecost, Peter got something that wasn't ever going to let him mess up again. Yeah. You see, Peter failed because it was before he had a helper. Peter let Jesus down before that day of Pentecost. Guess what, folks? The same thing Peter got at Pentecost, we still have today. We don't have an excuse that we don't have a helper. We don't have an excuse that we don't have something inside of us that is bigger than us, that is bigger than Satan, that is bigger than the whole world. Amen. Peter messed up because Peter didn't have the helper. But once Peter got that helper, he didn't mess up again, did he? Amen. Yes. And that same helper that came on that day of Pentecost, that same part, the third part of the triune God. I'm not going to try to stand up here and explain to you three parts of God. But I know there is because the Bible tells me there is. So that third part of the triune God came to Peter that day, and Peter didn't miss it. He's sifting us. I used to watch, and I loved watching Granny often make biscuits in the morning. I was very blessed. Me and Adam were to go down and eat breakfast with them most mornings during the summers before we go. Well, after we get done counting the cows, we'd go meet up, and they would have breakfast cooked. And she'd always have that old metal sifter with a wooden little round handle on it. And she was sifting that flour to make those biscuits. Make them fluffy and good. She'd make that crater in the bottom, and she'd pour that buttermilk right in that big old pan of flour. And then they'd be perfect every time. But she sifted that flour to get the impurities out, to get the clumps out, to get the parts out that she didn't want in there anymore. And that flour would just fall just like snow. See, that's what God's doing to the church. We got to be sifted, folks. Right. We got to go through times that are going to test us so that He can figure out who really is holding on to the truth of Jesus.
All right, so I'm going to start on some soup here in just a minute. It's still a very rainy day. Definitely a soup kind of day. So I have some of our beef thawing out, about a pound of ground beef, and also some chicken broth because I could do beef broth, but for some reason the chicken broth just sounds good to me in the soup. We'll see. We'll see how it turns out. I'm going to work on that in a minute, but baby boy is waking up. He has been napping, and he's waking up. He's going to be ready to eat. So I'll feed him, and then we'll get to work on some soup because it will be nice on this rainy, cool day to have a nice big pot of soup. And I have everything here for it. Like I have the frozen vegetables, had the meat in my freezer, had the chicken broth in my freezer. So we're going to do a little pantry cooking, do a little freezer cooking, use some things that we have, and have a nice, delicious, warm bowl of soup on a rainy day. And I was going to put it in the crock pot, but ran out of time this morning. I thought about cooking it in the crock pot all day. So I'm going to do it in my Dutch oven. And hey, how about lunch was delicious at Justin's mom's? She did sloppy joes, and we had cake and cheesecake and all kinds of great things. And it was delicious. Audrey offered to make a banana cake for us. I had mentioned that it sounded good, and she offered to make one for us. So there's that. I have a video dedicated to that recipe, and it will be linked down in the description box for you. And then for my vegetable beef soup, y'all, I use this as an opportunity to just use up things that I have. So we had some ground beef. We're using that. We had chicken broth in the freezer, so we're using that. I had started to thaw it. It was still a little frozen. No problem, though. It will thaw quickly and melt down in the pot. That's about 2 cups of chicken broth. And then I was just going to add in some water, but I decided, you know what, I have beef broth, so let's do that and just add a little extra flavor. I ended up adding 2 cups of beef broth. I started with 1 and then decided it needed a little bit more, and you'll see that I add in another cup. I had a bag of frozen mixed vegetables in the freezer, so we're putting those in there. There's Audrey. She's going to go ahead and get our cake in the oven. And for seasonings, I did salt and pepper. Then I did about a teaspoon of garlic powder, sprinkled in some red pepper flakes. But y'all, it's your kitchen. You do what you like. There's that other cup of beef broth that I was talking about. And then I was going to put in some onion powder, but I was out and I didn't realize it. So I have fresh onion. I'm just going to chop some of that and add it in. I'm going to add about half of that onion. And I went ahead and chopped the whole onion though. I'm going to put the other half in the freezer, already chopped. So the next time that I need chopped onion, I already have it ready. I was out in my freezer, so I went ahead and chopped up this whole onion, used about half of it in my soup, and put the other half in the freezer so the next time I need it, it'll be ready. Then I brought this to a boil and reduced it to a simmer, and we let this simmer for about 35 to 40 minutes just until the vegetables were nice and soft and everything was like we like it. Let me encourage y'all, especially with grocery prices like they are, to shop your refrigerator, shop your pantry, shop your freezer, and utilize the things that you have. While we were waiting on our soup, we had a little game of football going on. And here is our soup once it was finished. A nice warm pot of soup for this rainy day. So cozy, so delicious. And then here's you a little shot of our banana cake. Y'all, our whole house smelled so good. Again, this recipe will be linked down in the description box for you. It was a perfect way to finish our weekend. We love you. We appreciate you. And we'll see you in the next one. Bye, y'all.